Hi, I'm Gary Wills, actor, producer, and entrepreneur. You're watching Two Geeks Talking.
Good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone. Two Geeks Talking is an entertainment industry interview show where we interview the creative people from the comic, film, TV, movie, and video game industries. And of course, I'm your host, Kurt Sasso. We are joined today by a very talented actor, an entrepreneur. He is, well, you've seen him in Game of Thrones, but you are also going to see him in his newest film called Rage. We're joined today by the ever-talented Gary Wales. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. I've been following you on social media for a while, stalking, I guess you could call it as well too. But looking at what you've done in your career for as long as you've been doing it, it's amazing the passion that you show for every role that you have. How did you get into acting?
So I was 6 years old at the time. I was doing like community theater and doing like school shows and stuff like that. Just the normal things that like a young person would do, And I don't know. I just kind of like the whole feeling of being on a stage and um, we done some community theater and my mum was a big aspect of that. She helped me with that. So she got me into like a stage school whenever I was young, and yeah, so I kind of went from there, and I started looking at musicals as well. So done some training in musicals and done Oliver and Grease and all that kind of stuff. And then I got noticed for TV and film. 2015 was the last stage performance that I ever did, and I've been focusing on TV and film since.
Did you miss the stage?
Yes and no. Theater is it's very long. It could take like 8 months of rehearsals, and I mean, like, I'm talking like rehearsals of like 6 days out of 7, and it could be like from 8 o'clock in the morning to 10, 11 p.m. at night, and it was just so exhausting, and especially with musicals as well. Once I got into more musicals and stuff like that, obviously there's a lot of training in the voice, especially for whenever it comes to singing role. And it was getting too much for me. I might return one day.
Obviously, Game of Thrones is a great feather in your cap as well too, and we'll dive into the films you're currently creating. But how were you noticed for Game of Thrones?
So Game of Thrones was actually so I grew up in Scotland, but I moved to Northern Ireland, where Game of Thrones is filmed, partially filmed, sorry, because the rest is filmed in Croatia and Spain, stuff like that. So I noticed there was a casting call. I reached out to the my agent at the time. I was like, "Can you try and get me in there?" And so I went for an audition, and I just kept getting call back, and that was it. So
Talk
me
about
being in Northern Ireland helped a lot.
obviously the talent in Europe is vast. I mean, it seems like a lot of Hollywood productions search the European talent pool for a lot of their productions, and I'm glad that you were noticed as well too.
Yeah.
Talk about Rage, a short film that you've acted in, wrote, and produced. I mean, you know, speaking of wearing multiple caps in a short film, that's crazy as this. Fellow producer, I understand your pain.
Yeah.
Tell us what Rage is all about.
So Rage is about a young man who, or sorry, young dad, should I say, who goes out. It's his fifth year anniversary with his wife, and goes out to a bar, and he starts mixing drugs and alcohol together, and the night um, the night doesn't end the way we wanted it to be. So basically, the way that we are portraying Rage is if you pretend that you're sitting in your house and you're hearing an argument happening from next door, but you don't actually know what's happening, and then suddenly emergency services pull up, you don't know what's happening behind those closed doors. So we're showing the world what drugs and alcohol can do and what damage it can do to a family household. Yeah, we're showing what's happening behind that closed door.
Why is this film important to you personally?
I enjoy creating pieces of art that have a meaning, something that I could potentially help others with, raising awareness, charity, whatever it is. So I done a movie back in 2014 called Too Late, which was actually my first short film that I ever created. That went really well. And that was based on bullying and suicide, and I received a lot of feedback from that. And then I started on a production called Why Me, which, yeah, to this day I've still not done yet. We are working on it though. So that's working. That's what we're working on right now. And then, of course, Rage came up whenever I moved back to Scotland. I reached out to social media, to some of the Scotland cast and crew groups, and I was looking for a writer and a producer to work along beside me to create this masterpiece. So David Penman, who's the co-creator of Rage, reached out to me, and we started talking. This was 3 years ago. We were getting ready to do casting and get ready to start filming, and then COVID hit. So that was a bummer for us. But as soon as we had the opportunity to be able to film and everything again, we jumped at it very quickly, casted, and that was it.
That's amazing. How has COVID helped your creativity?
It hasn't really helped my creativity in a way. In regards to Rage, though, we have researched that 17.5% of domestic violence cases across the whole entire world has risen since the start of the COVID pandemic, obviously due to the isolation of families being locked indoors. It's crazy. Creative-wise, yeah, it's helped with Rage a little bit, I would say. Other projects I've not really focused on because it's very hard to do. I was more focused on like keeping an eye on social media, talking to my fans, making sure that they're okay and everyone's safe, and checking on with family in Oklahoma and stuff like that. So I was just making sure that over that year and a bit, making sure that everybody was okay.
That's good. You have to check in and with those that you're not able to. It's always good to make that connection. When it comes to obviously with this film, what was the most challenging aspect for you, either as an actor, producer, or writer, or all of the above?
The most challenging aspect of it is to obviously me playing such a strong character. I've never played a character like this before, and to obviously produce, direct, write as well, and to be able to control everything at the same time. It was very, very hard. And I think actually to this day, Rage may have been the hardest project that I've ever worked on. I have shown a few very close people to me some of the takes, and they've told me that Rage is like my character in Rage, like that's the best acting that I've ever did. So which is great, So I'm growing and I'm getting better at what I'm doing. But the character Alex, I play Alex, such a strong character, Obviously I grew out the hair for it, the scruffy beard, and of course what helped the most was all the other work that I had to do. So the producing, the writing, directing, all of that at the same time, plus the production manager that we originally had, she had surgery at the time, so she unfortunately had to step back from being production manager from Rage 2 months prior to filming, which didn't help, but we understood. I took over as production manager. So all of that stress and emotion behind all those roles, I loaded into the character, which made the character 10 times better.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really good.
It was scary. It was really scary. Like after a final day of filming, you'll see in the movie that I do a lot of shouting and screaming in a part of the movie. I woke up the next morning and lost my voice. And then, it took a few days and I started to actually I was getting like backlashes from that character, like dreaming some stuff, and it was just scaring me. I'm not a method actor or anything like that, but it was just scaring me a little bit. And I went straight to the barbers, shaved off my hair, got the facial hair off, showered, like completely just like refresh, restart, and just sat there and listened to music, and that was me. It's like I came back onto Earth again. It was like I was an alien of some sort.
Out of body experience is interesting. with being a producer, obviously you have a lot of control. You have to control the film. You have to be the one to make those hard decisions. What's the most misunderstood aspect about being a producer that people outside the industry don't understand?
Well, leadership is a massive part of it. Obviously, the people that are working under you is looking up to you, hoping that one day that they will get there to that producer point. Producing's hard. It really is. At first, I didn't really want to go along the lines of being a producer or anything like that, but I loved coming up with stuff, and I love creating, which technically is a producer, but all the work loaded on with the role of a producer wasn't expected. So
yeah, it's definitely a challenging aspect. Then as a writer for this film, writing is difficult. Putting yourself into this character that you know you're going to be acting as, did that skew your writing style in any way?
Not really. Writing isn't my strongest. It's like hands up. David done most of the writing. I'm more coming up with the idea, writing a synopsis, what I'm imagining, and then handing it over to David or whoever and be like, listen, this is what I want. Write it. Let's jump back and forth. And that's what we did. And that's how we came up with Rage.
Looking at this film and looking at the script, what was one scene that was in the script that looked better on film? That you're like, wow, this is amazing.
Wow. You know, I don't want to obviously say too much, right, but I think the final scene, it was just reading it off the script. Yes, you can imagine it, but once you're actually seeing it portrayed, it's so strong. Like I went through a ton of emotions that day. You'll see that in the film. There's not really much I can say, to be honest, because like obviously we are still in post-production, still getting edited. It's not completely finished yet. But yeah, I'm excited to see the final product. So put it that way. And I never watch myself. I never do. But this I will.
Why is that?
I get cringed out too easily. Because I always like I'll look at like movies and stuff like that, and I'll be like, why did he do that? Or why did he move his hand like that? Or like I'll catch these little things as an actor and as a producer. I'm on the lookout for these wee things. But it's like finding movie mistakes, right? So I'm like seeing all these different like, why did my face go like that? Why did I squint like that? You know, like why did I look that way when I should be looking that? A lot goes through my brain whenever I'm watching back on stuff, and yeah. No.
I'm the same way with interviews as well too. I can't hear myself or watch myself. It's just not a good thing.
It's scary.
It's why I hate editing, but I have
scary.
to. Yeah. You know, being on set with the multiple roles that you had, improvisation is always a key aspect to not only as an actor but as making a film run smoothly. What was one area where you had to MacGyver a moment for a scene?
Oh, I mean, to be honest, like I wouldn't really touch other people's work. For example, like Game of Thrones and stuff like that. I'm not going to touch. You know, it's not my say. I don't think, because I know. So Johnny Depp, for example, I know he had a lot of MacGyver moments in Pirates of the Caribbean where he would just like add stuff whenever he felt like it, or you know, I don't put myself at that stage, which gives me I don't have the authority to do that, you know. With all my projects, usually once the script's written, I'll try and like look over the script. It's hard. I'm weird because I need to see it being done in front of me for me to be able to take action. So like, for example, on Rage, there was a lot of the stuff in Rage that we filmed that wasn't even in the script because I came up with it on like at that moment, you know. So like I'll be like, no, change, and then all the actors would freak out and they'll be like, you're changing the script already. But like, yeah, I like this better, you know. So I didn't really touch my character that much, to be honest. It was more or less the other characters that I was touching. They weren't happy though, because they were like, "Oh, you've updated it already," and I was, "Uh-huh." And I don't like using paper, so I'm like digitally like putting it on the Google Drive.
Oh wow.
And as soon as I hit update, everybody's got phones are out. They're all checking everything, like everything's being updated. I don't
Well,
know. I like to change my own stuff.
and that's flexibility is always the key for that. But what about did you have to MacGyver anything in a scene to save that scene? Not from an acting perspective, but more maybe from a if we don't do this, this scene is going to be lost, or we're going to have to scrap it.
Not really. No,
Okay.
not really. There was a we did end up taking it out. There was a part in the script for Rage that we just didn't have time to do because of during the summer in Scotland, our the daylight and night and stuff like that didn't work a lot, and we didn't have a lot of time, and like it was getting dark at 11:30 at night, and then getting light again at 3 o'clock in the morning. So we're only getting like 4 hours of darkness,
Jeez.
and it was just extremely hard. And there was one scene, I can't even remember what it was now because we're focusing on another project right now. There was one scene that we had to take out completely because there was no night.
To have a short film run smoothly is always difficult to do, but I'm glad it went smoothly for you.
Yeah, no, it really does.
4 hours of nighttime though, that would be really difficult. Jeez.
It is difficult. I mean, like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, the sun's coming up, like the sun's just beating through my window. I'm like, why? Like, give me another 4 hours and I'll be good.
Just do a lot of golden hour shots. You'll be perfectly fine.
Where my bed is and where my window is, just at the corner, because I live right next to the ocean, right next to the beach, and that orange, bright sun comes right through it and it shoots me right in the face.
Oh.
Drives me nuts, and I'm like jumping to each side of the bed, even though I don't like to sleep at the other side of the bed. This is my side, no one else is on that side, so I'm like going over to that side and it feels weird, so I jump over to the other side, then it's on the opposite way.
Fair enough.
The sun is awful.
We'll get a little more introspective with you here. It's been going actually really well. I love your answers for everything here. So in one sentence, who are you?
Who am I? I'm a Christian. I'm very kind-hearted. Always there for anyone who needs any help or just needs a pickup.
In one word, what do you live for?
For freedom. I mean, I'm Scottish, of course. I want freedom. I want everything to be free. Like that's. I think obviously me being a Christian and having that belief behind me and having that freedom and that power to be able to adventure and like, yeah, I love it.
What could you pay more attention to in your life?
Family, definitely. I'm not always there. It's very hard because like I'll be working a lot as well, and I know family do miss me. I do live close to family. But I don't know. I just seem to get sidetracked with creative stuff instead of family. But I would like to focus on family more.
Since you're an actor, this is probably an apropos question. Your life is a movie. What would its title be?
If my life was a movie, why me? Why me? So that's what we're working on right now. Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
It's about a young kid that has ADHD, and he gets bullied throughout his whole school years and gets casted for one of the roles in one of the musicals that the school was doing, and he gets bullied for wearing makeup and all that stuff. Goes through a lot of mental health issues. There's a lot of there's a bit of police action as well. He runs out of school grounds and he gets in trouble, and but he ends up becoming someone extremely successful. So it's like a learning curve that it doesn't matter what you've went through in life. You can still make your life, or sorry, you can be whoever you want to be. Let's put it that way. If you believe in yourself, you'll get there.
And good lesson to have. Speaking of lessons, what lesson in life did you learn the hard way?
The hard way? Oh, to concentrate.
Okay.
And concentrate for shit. It's critical.
Is
Yeah,
it
no.
is it just because of technology or life in general, or you focus on other
Um,
things?
it's just you know, like I'm the kind of person that I like to pack my brain with so much information, and it like comes from all different angles. I like to multitask, um, but I end up hurting myself in the same process. You know, like not physically, don't worry, but like mentally, it drains me. I don't know why I do it to myself, but concentration like on one thing at a time, that's a no-go for me. It's like you put 10 versions of the Bible in front of me, I'm going to read all of them at the same time. Like,
That's a real page turner.
yeah, it's an absolute nightmare. But I mean, I've been living with this for the past, what, I don't know how many years, and I'm okay.
From a creative perspective, you can't focus on one thing, obviously, so then you're focusing on multiple aspects. So to be a multitasker, especially in film and acting, is obviously a very good trait to have, and especially as a producer, it's a mandatory
Right.
thing.
Yeah. If I
So
was a female, maybe I would get away with it a wee bit better, but I'm not a female. Because I mean, unfortunately, females get away with doing that, and I don't know how they can do it, but I can.
they handle stress better, but how do you
Oh,
handle stress?
definitely. Music. Music's a very strong aspect for me. I'm obviously as a Christian, I like to listen to like Hillsong United, Bethel music, Ren Collective, stuff like that. I also like to listen to like Hans Zimmer, instrumentals from movies like Avatar and all that. Something that I've really enjoyed. I think obviously growing up in the musical field as well, me obviously dealing with it, a lot of instrumentals for me singing. It's kind of grew on me with instrumentals. So,
What would be your soundtrack for your life?
oh, I would probably say very positive, very upbeat, acoustic, definitely, like a very like indie acoustic. Um, Maybe a little bit rock in a way, but very upbeat and very positive. Toby Mac.
How can you become a better writer?
I can't. I can't. I don't write, so I'm the creative brain. You like if I come up with an idea, I'll write it down. I'll write the synopsis, and then I'll give it to someone else. I'll like take it,
Okay.
go make me something, bring it back to me, and then I'll make it. I'll produce it.
What is the what is the most difficult aspect about being a creative person for you?
Being able to twist things, because obviously being a creator, you need to be able to look at both negative and positive aspects, so to be able to twist those at the same time, to come up with a storyline and all that, it's very difficult, and unfortunately there's no positive in Rage.
Well, it's positive in the sense that you're showcasing, the
Raising awareness and showing people that this is what drugs and alcohol can physically do.
exactly. Yeah, that's the positive that I would take from it.
Mhm.
Everyone has one or two people that inspire them on their path to where they are today. Who was that for you?
Ooh. Hmm. Well, of course, Johnny Depp. Um, Robin Williams. He doesn't really get talked about that much, but Robin Williams, he's played such a large variety of different characters. Yeah, no, he's definitely one. You know, I've got a soft spot for people that do multiple characters. Um, like I mean, look at Johnny Depp. One minute he's a pirate, one minute he's working in a chocolate factory, like, and then next he's a singer and all that. Hugh Jackman's also another one. He's a very talented person. Yeah.
From a professional standpoint, you've been an actor, you've been a singer, a writer, producer. You've done many different roles in your life, and you're going to continue to be creative in that aspect.
Right.
Do you consider yourself personally successful?
I do, yes. I've worked extremely hard for what I am today. People are looking up to me. People are asking for advice. So yes, I would consider myself successful.
The reverse of success is failure. How do you deal with your failures?
I get back up again and I do it again. If I don't get it right the first time, I'll do it again. For example, rage. If I need to do it again, I'll do it all again.
I'd hope you would want to reshoot the
Yeah,
entire film.
definitely not. Because I don't fancy going back into that character again. That was just horrible.
Okay, fair enough. The younger generation is looking at your work and they're becoming inspired to be creative in their own right. How can they inspire the generation that follows them?
Well, in this day and age, don't use technology.
Was that?
Yeah, I think technology is really, I don't know. You can learn from books. I mean, I like to use books, especially whenever it comes to creative stuff. Google and stuff, not really. I do enjoy watching movies and stuff like that. Um, Helps me with ideas as well. Watch movies and I try to think of different ways to change it to make it my own. But yeah, technology, you don't need it. You don't need it to be creative anyway.
Well, Gary, I do hate to say this, but that ends this particular episode of Two Geeks Talking. But before I let you go, where can we find you on social media?
You can find me at Gary A. Wales, which is across all social media: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, YouTube, everywhere. You'll find me. I'm under that username. We are working on trying to get all of my channels verified. I've got my YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram sorted out. But Twitter, unfortunately, hasn't yet. So it is my official one, Gary A. Wales. It's linked to my website, which is garyawales.com. But yeah, that's where you can find me.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Gary, for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
All right. That ends this particular episode of Two Geeks Talking. Of course, look at Gary's amazing work and talent, not only in acting, but a creative person that he is. And follow him on social media. He's definitely a cool guy, and I can't wait to see what Rage comes up with in the film circuits there. As always, you can find this interview and thousands of others on our website, twogeekstalking.com or tgtmedia.com. You can find us on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/c/TGTmedia. And as I say every week, everyone has a story to tell, and it's up to me to help bring that out. Thanks for listening and watching. Hey all, Kurt Sasso here from Two Geeks Talking. If you like this video and these quick clips here, make sure you take a look at our YouTube channel, youtube.com/TGTmedia. Make sure you hit the likes button and subscribe as well. Hit the bell to make sure you get notifications, of course, from videos like this here. Thank you everyone for listening and watching over the years, and keep listening and watching for new and exciting interviews with talented creative people in the entertainment industry. I'm your host, Kurt Sasso. Thank you so much.